Morning, everybody. It has been over 3 weeks since I last did a video about my story, and sometimes I find that I keep putting it off, or at the very least that I'm unsure, um, because the revolving door theme in my head is: do I just sound like I'm whining about something that happened a couple years ago, or that I've just let it consume me, and in that it's all that I can talk about, or are people fucking bored of hearing, what maybe they feel, or what sometimes might sound like the same old shit, and so I get nervous or anxious about just not doing any more. Why bother? Because I don't want to sound like woe is me. But I figured I would still keep going because the story's far from over. I still have a lot to say that I think is important and relevant for other people, as non-exciting as it may be, because not all the work stories are exciting, although many of them were fun, and I hope for those who watched them that they found them enjoyable, especially the Echo 305 stuff. There's hardly a day that goes by where I don't think about those years being the most fun that I've ever had in uniform. But bottom line is, the reason why I started this was to tell my story, and I still have a long ways to go, though I'm not defined by what occurred or how that will continue to affect me down the road. So I'm just going to keep going. Whoever watches this. And other stuff that I have I've done a lot of video shorts in the last little while with these three beauties, because that's been so good for me up here, and also down here. Get your minds out of the gutter. So these things play a part in sort of the next bit of my story. The last one being I got home and getting acclimated to that. And so now I'm at home, and I'm finding that I'm out of the routine that I had, which was being in the hospital and having a whole ton of people taking care of me physically and mentally, looking after my daily needs. Now I'm back at home, and so for the first few weeks at least, and even a while after, I've just got so much time on my hands that I literally don't know what to fucking do. And that, combined with the bulk of my care being on my wife and daughter and my friends and my daughter's boyfriend, and at this time the kids were living at home with us, basement dwellers, which was, I needed that, my wife needed that, we needed that, and we also had a good friend who was a roommate. But a lot of what I was doing was sitting around. And when I hadn't started physio yet, I'd come downstairs in the morning after getting showered and dressed, and I was either staring at the screen that I'm making this video with, staring at my phone, or staring at the TV over there. And that's not healthy, especially when, I wasn't being physically active every day, or at least for 2 days out of the week, which is what my physio wound up being. And being out of the house and having a different view than all the different screens, even just getting outside in the backyard, and sitting on the deck and getting some fresh city air, or sitting out on the front porch and getting some sun, changing what my view was regularly, literally helped with keeping me from feeling like I was going nuts or nuttier. It was so good for my mind to change what I was looking at. But, I could sit outside in the sun for only so long. This pickerel white skin can only handle so much vitamin D. but establishing a routine of doing that every day, usually particularly in the mornings after I had coffee and taken care of business and had a bite to eat, was really important. And then getting back, um, to physio twice a week. And there's another example within the healthcare system where I was so fortunate to get a good referral, um, to someone who was positive, someone who was experienced, and someone who didn't just take me on as a client, but who was seriously engaged in positively so in seeing me continue to improve physically. And so that was a huge uh, forward movement in me capably, or me getting better with my daily capabilities, sort of physical capabilities. And it was a huge motivator for me to continue to work through pain and to work hard and to get better. And I put a lot of my physio progress um, on this YouTube channel. So in a lot of the older videos, I tried to do my best to give a real shot of what it looked like every day. So that's good. But that was 2 days out of the week. Um, and part of what made so for all the other days of the week, part of the problem for me mentally was, you know, I was still feeling so very disconnected from all the guys and gals at work. And when this job forms the bulk of your working adult life, and you don't have that direct connection of seeing the guys and gals every day, or talking about the same shit, or being exposed to all the scandal and rumors directly, while you're at work, was a huge loss of identity for me. And I didn't have any place to put that, um, which was hard, um, or have anybody to help me deal with it. I mean, obviously, family and friends, but were there for me. But I needed professional help to deal with the old brain helmet. And it took a while because, I'm still at home getting established in a routine. And so I found someone um, that was excellent and had training and education and experience in dealing with different trauma disorders, whether it be PTSD, or nightmares, or things like that. Also, someone who was specialized in EMDR therapy, which is sort of they didn't put the strap on my head and shock my brain, but it deals with a specific kind of electromagnetic, look it up, Google it, therapy, when dealing with traumatic incidents and events. And I was very lucky in that I found a mental health professional that I immediately felt comfortable with, because that's not always the case. You don't always feel that, after your first meeting, that this is the right person for you, but I did. And even though, of course, the behavioral health unit and the service psych were things that I'd accessed before, for some reason, I just didn't feel like this was it for me this time. I needed an outside source of help. I still, to this day, don't know why that is, but that's just what my gut told me, and I followed that. Um, so that was good. I was starting to continuing to deal with all the nightmares and all the different events at work, about 5 or 6 in particular, almost all of which involved children or infants, that I was still having as recurring nightmares and visions that I didn't have before the collision or being in hospital. And another thing that was making it difficult for me was, um, when you're at hospital and you're like still sort of freshly injured or dealing with a lot of rehab and stuff like that, to me then it was more normal or more acceptable to have help. But now I'm back at home and I can't hardly fucking do uh, daily household chores like house cleaning or yard care or anything like that. And so, and I required more help, and I was seeing my family and friends do a lot of the jobs that nurses and unit aides would do. And that was a lot harder to accept within my own home. Because now that I'm home, I felt that I should be able to get back to what I was used to. I wasn't in a hospital anymore. I had healed immensely. I had gotten better physically. I had become more capable. But now I'm seeing everybody in my house having to do all the shit that I used to do, and I couldn't help. That was hard. I felt so fucking useless for a long time because I wanted to help, but I couldn't. And so I had to eat that for quite a while. Things are way better now when it comes to that. But I really had to be, because I just wasn't capable. I didn't have enough gas in the tank to do it. So I had to be satisfied with just the little things, which were little victories, little tasks that I could do. Like unload the top rack only of the dishwasher, or help fold small towels and shirts while I was sitting in my chair. Losing the ability to contribute to my household, well, it's still hard. I don't think I'll ever completely get over it, but I found it really difficult. And like I said, it is something that I continue to struggle with, but it was really hard then because I hate being a job to someone. And in a lot of ways, I still am, or at least I feel I still am. Although she strongly disagrees with me, and that's okay. But it's a constant struggle, and those are hard feelings to deal with because we all are so used to being in charge, focusing on tasks that we have to do every day, and being independent about doing them and not having to rely on others. So I was like that at home, but was my mindset at work. I know how to do this. I don't need your help. I can do it. And it's something that I have to do every day. So I really lost that two ways. So for A-type personalities, that's very, very difficult. And so if any of you out there are, because of something that's happened at work or something that's happened in your personal life, which makes you unable to contribute as you used to, for me, it made you feel like, well, what's my purpose? What am I good for? What can I do? If you're ever, and I got really down on myself and depressed about that. But so I continued to tell people how I felt almost every day, which can be a lot and annoying. But if you're ever feeling that way because of something that happened, at the very least, don't sweep it under the rug. Don't shovel it away. talk to someone, your spouse, your partner, a peer that you trust, family or friends, and if need be, a mental health professional. Because it isn't weak to do that, but it can make you sick if you keep it bottled up. Trust me. And I am fine and happy to talk to anybody who's feeling that way, people who can relate. But of course, it's not my job to treat or fix someone. But I'm certainly well aware of resources that we have that I'm happy to direct someone to get it. So yeah, going back to one of the themes that I touched on was finding ways to fill my time. That's what these things became, although I didn't have all three of them at the time. But I needed something healthy and creative to do on a daily basis that gave me structure and purpose and goal setting and mental and physical forward progression. And a family member had suggested that I should take up playing guitar, and my daughter had an old junior acoustic that I had bought her in like 2010 downstairs in the basement, and it had been sitting there because, like me as a child, I had a guitar, took lessons, but I didn't have the patience or discipline to stick with it. And my daughter enjoyed it and took lessons for a while, but it's just one of those things that didn't stick. So thinking about goal setting and having a hobby and a daily task, I said to myself, okay, I will get that guitar. A very good friend, up from the basement, a very good friend, after I played it for a couple of weeks and found a great self-teaching app called Musician. I played that, cleaned up the guitar, and a very good friend of mine took the guitar and gave it new strings and a real good once over / tune up, and I made that part of my day every day for many months, 15 to 30 minutes. And I was so glad that I decided to do that, even though I thought, well, at 52 or 51, no, 52, I thought, for a little while I thought, well, what's the fucking point? I'm not going to be able to learn something at that age. I sure am glad I did. I didn't think I would be able to learn a new skill. I didn't think I would be any good at it, and I had no clue how far I could get. But I'm still playing to this day, and I think a little over 300 days later, and 2 new guitars later. But most importantly, was the guitar that The Fly gave me. Many people will know who that is when I speak of him. But as always, I don't name names, just to do my best to respect people's privacy. But this beautiful blue SG, my favorite, my favorite and my easiest recruit that I ever field trained, who had fixed up the old junior acoustic, brought me this thing one time because I said to him, I want to try an electric guitar to see how it compares to playing an acoustic, see how I do. And he gave me this beauty, and I'm forever, as a surprise gift. I was just going to borrow it, but when him and his wife and daughter came over for supper one evening, he brought this and gave it to me, and of course I bawled like a baby because it was a beautiful gift, and it's been getting played very frequently ever since then, and so thank you. You know who you are. then this guitar, sorry about the delay there. I also got a new acoustic because the old 12 string just didn't cut. Junior acoustic 12 string just didn't cut it anymore. So I got this beautiful Epiphone DS100 or whatever, Dreadnought style. See, I'm learning stuff. My lovely wife got this for me as a gift, and I'm forever thankful. And I still play it every day. And so almost a year, right? Last one, I promise. And sorry for the look away from the cameras, but you can't always be staring at my skullet, so it looks better if I turn from the back. It's a better view. And then just recently, Santa came a little bit early this year. This is a childhood idol, if it were. My favorite guitarists were Stratocaster players like Steve Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton. And I had stuck to and been disciplined for so long on the SG and the acoustic, sticking with it every day and learning chords and notes and riffs and pieces of songs. And having a couple of friends who were putting the bug in my ear and in my wife's ear, and I was dropping hints. This thing came into my life magically out of nowhere. And so I made a trip to Long and McQuaid in Winnipeg and played this thing after trying a friend's Stratocaster, and oh baby, did I enjoy it. And so now I'm in full guitar addiction mode, although I'm quite happy about that. And it's hardly been a day where I've missed it. And I'm sure and thankful that I took up the suggestion to play and that I've stuck with it, because it's made me very happy. And it's been not only been so good for the fingers, it's also been good for my mental health to have something creative and positive to focus on. So, if you're having a hard time and you're needing something positive in your life, pick up an instrument and do something. It's been so good for me. And so I got tons more that I could talk about. But I'll end it here because I've gone over my time limit again of 20 minutes. But I really hope that those of you that watch this enjoy it. If you have any questions, fire away. You know how to get a hold of me. Send me a message on any social media platform. I'm on them all, I think. Well, except for TikTok or Threads. I don't do either of those. Got enough. So Instagram, Facebook Messenger, or just send me a text. And I hope that continuing to tell my story, though it's not, all exciting, priority one pursuit fun, it's still important for me to get through it, no matter how many viewers I have. And I hope that this stuff can be a benefit to someone. That expression, that cliche, if it helps one person, I'm happy. Until next time, take good care of yourselves, physically and mentally. Don't ignore any troubles that you're having in your gut or in your heart or in your head. Look after yourselves, and remember that no day at work is more important than a day off. Take care, I love you, and we'll see you next time.